Hi there, I'm joining the machine Hughes, and you're about to listen to another great episode of Outside the Panels. This time around, however, we are going to be talking about some serious subjects, so please be aware that the topics covered will feature child sexual abuse and assault. If this isn't for you or it may trigger you, please stop now, go and watch one of the other shows about any of the host of comics that we've got going. If, however, you want to stick around, it might feel important to you, please feel free to do so. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome, everyone, to an episode of Outside the Panels. I am your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and as by now you know, I live well outside the panels. So far outside the panels this time around, there's no panels to see at all. It's all a book. It's a book written by a survivor of child sexual abuse and assault. Very brave gentleman coming on the show to talk about his book and his experiences. So without further ado, it is a fantastic, the ultra brave. It's Mr. Kenny Rogers Jr. Kenny, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thank you, Johnny, for having me.
You are more than welcome for sure. I said at the start that this is a brave topic. Not only have you written a book, Heroes, Villains, and Healing, you're on a show, and we're going to talk about some stuff. All right. So thank you so much, for gracing us with your presence and talking about your story and talk about your history and what's going on. So please, you're a survivor of something pretty horrific. Let's start at the top. Let's go. So kind of, what was it, I suppose, that made you think about the things you were going through and how they related to some of the more iconic characters like Spider-Man and Doctor Doom? I think I read somewhere in one of the press releases. So
so as you said, I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse and assault, and when beginning my journey of healing, we used a book called "The Courage to Heal" by Ellen Bass and Laura Davis, and it's a great book. It's a great resource for survivors, but it's written specifically for female survivors.
Right.
And when I was working on this with my therapist and we were reading this together, anytime she would get to the pronouns of she or her, it would always make me feel more alone and more isolated.
Right.
But as we were reading the book, I was starting to see a lot of the coping mechanisms that was being mentioned, such as hypervigilance or workaholism, or just denying everything that has happened to you. I really saw a huge connection between those coping mechanisms and the heroes and villains and all the characters that I just grew up loving and just cherishing, in all the shows, all the movies, all the comics. And so I started to do research. I started to connect. I started to connect those dots between the heroes, those different characters, and then different cognitive behavior therapies, such as internal family systems, dialectical behavior therapy, or just cognitive behavior therapy in general, and seeing those connections and seeing how they overlay one or the other to really make it open and make other survivors feel like they have a voice and they're accepted, and it's fun to read. It's not just some boring humdrum material, but
not a textbook this thick with like words that are like 72 characters long.
Yeah.
So it's instantly accessible. You can see that. And this brings up an interesting point. A couple of points I want to bring up, I suppose. The first point is, over here in the UK, the largest population, the largest group of people who are at risk of committing suicide are men between 35 and 55. I don't know how that translates over in the States. Predominantly, it's that old school kind of, suck it up, buttercup mentality that you kind of get. That generation's now hitting the fruition, and society's changed. It's okay to cry at ET and all that sort of stuff. That's a huge conflict emotionally and psychologically for a lot of blokes. So you talk about having a book that talks about healing from a female perspective. It makes sense. There's nobody thought about it from a bloke's point of view, from a man's point of view, because it's The other thing to consider is what you've said is that we tend to forget this, is that a lot of the comic book characters that we love, if you run today's society rule across them, they have some shady mental health going on, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Batman's an obsessive compulsive.
Yeah.
He's living in at least 3 of the stages of denial. That's
Yeah.
the stages of grief.
Yeah.
Every single time I pick a book up, Spider-Man's got some blame thing going on.
Yeah.
Dr. Doom has an ego problem.
Yeah.
And Reed Richards is the workaholic. He doesn't see everything that he's got in Sue and the family that's the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you started putting this together then, this kind of like comparison between what you were living with and how you were feeling with your own experiences, and then comparing them and contrasting the comic book characters?
I was late 20s, early 30s when I really started to see the overlap. I started off with DC characters. And the reason why I did DC characters first was because
they're better. Because they're better. I'm a DC fan, so
Yeah, me too. Like there's so much trauma and it's so dark. Like that's one of the main reasons I gravitated towards it, especially as a kid. It was just more gritty. And DC also came out with those like 75 years of Batman, 75 years of like those huge, thick graphic novels, and it made it easier to do the research back before they had DC Infinite or Marvel Unlimited, like those apps that you can just access all those comics whenever. So those books were a major resource in order to like get the research and like do it properly. And then with this one, with this Marvel edition, like I was able to have a little bit more money to actually invest in some pretty good comics, and actually do some pretty decent research and just do a really better job of making it more cohesive with those Marvel characters.
Okay, so am I okay to ask you some personal questions now?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So late 20s, 30s, you start to see the mirror, as it were, between real life mental health and how mental health is not directly portrayed in comic books, but some of the symptoms that we see. Yeah. So I'm gonna ask the question. How old were you when you suffered through your abuse?
I was 8 years old. It lasted for about 2 years. So from 8 to 10, it was my older sister. And it would happen when my parents would leave. They would go to work, or they would go out on dates, whatnot. And then pornography was played, and then the sexual assault and the sexual abuse would happen over time until eventually she just said, no, we can't do that anymore, it's bad, and just left me with a whole bunch of different questions like how bad is it, how much trouble will I get in, am I going to hell, am I a horrible human being, am I still a virgin, like all these things that I never really addressed because it was just can't talk about it because it's bad. And so for 20 years, I didn't talk about it, just kept it sort of bottled up and tried to cope using perfectionism and workaholism. And that's mostly what it's like for most male survivors. It takes about 20 years for them to actually disclose. And no one really knows why or fully understands like why that timeline is, but it's normally about 20 years. And so like clockwork, once that 20-year around that time, like I entered the emergency stage and I was going through horrible panic attacks, not really being able to function, severe depression, high anxiety, until I actually made the choice to actually go and start getting help after a little bit of a suicide scare. As you
Really?
mentioned that earlier. So it's pretty impactful, like having all those memories just like hit you and then not know how to really cope with them. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, was because like there are other survivors who will just be like, what is going on? Why is this happening? And it'll start to lay things out for them so they don't have to feel as confused and alone as I did for so long.
It's a fact that us blokes, we don't like to talk about our feelings. It's something. I'm in my 40s. No, I'm not. I'm my 40s. Who am I talking about? I'm in my 50s, and I would say that I know I don't look it. It's fine.
You don't know.
Yeah, whatever. So nice. So I'm in my 50s, and it's took a while, but I'm okay. And my wife is super supportive. And if I get upset when when we're watching TV, I've got a soft with dogs. You know, I lost the dog, so I'll get upset and I'll cry. And she's super supportive, and she's there to talk to and stuff.
Yeah.
The thing I found really telling through your history there, you were mentioning how much trouble will I get in?
Yeah.
Yeah, not how much trouble will your sister get in?
Yeah.
How much trouble will I get in?
Yeah.
Is that your personality coming through, or is that the kind of societal norm about the bloke being the one that's supposed to be like the man and being in charge of a situation? It's an interesting sense that that you're the one getting in trouble. You don't see that she's getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting kind of reflection, I suppose.
I mean,
is that your type? Your personality? Are you very much?
Well, it's my personality, but also it's what society sort of like hammers in with the idea of like the whole idea that men and boys can't be sexually abused or assaulted or raped. And so we are often painted as the perpetrators rather than the victims.
See,
so
I hear you.
with that just being painted in that way throughout our society, immediately it's either going to be it was my fault, or it made me really good at it. Like if you are sexually assaulted or abused or raped by an older woman, it is more seen as like a rite of passage.
Like woo, high fives.
Exactly. Like, yeah, finally, yeah, you're a man now.
Yeah.
And it's not really seen as a problem.
Yeah,
seen as a good thing rather than a bad thing.
It's funny you bring up how society portrays blokes, and this is a sweeping statement. So please, if you disagree with me, feel free to disagree with me. This is everyone. I don't mind. But my stepson Kai is on a massive Law and Order SVU kick.
Yeah.
Right. So we've downloaded like 8 seasons or whatever. We're plowing through these episodes,
Yeah.
And last week I said, right, enough. I'm done. I can't watch anymore. I need to take a break from this show.
Yeah.
My wife's like, why do you take a break? I was like, because men are always the bad guys.
Yeah.
Why is and she's a great actress, she is, but Benson's always preaching about something, and it's always some bloke that's done it. And I'm like, this is like watching Scooby-Doo. I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you pesky kids. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that's it, I'm done. I need to take a break. I can't watch any more of this. It's not warping, but it's not playing fair. It's not giving me the parity or the equality that I expect from
Yeah.
a show that is supposed to be unbiased.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
No,
Maybe I'm being too sensitive.
no, that's a really good observation. Like, and you were able to see it, like watching them back to back to back to back, to be like, okay, there were no writers of diverse backgrounds in this room to say, hey, I think we should change this up a bit.
Yeah.
And the fact that that happens, it affects the mentality of the society in which we live, and the way certain individuals see the people throughout our society, whether that be in a negative or positive light. I see this and I feel this way. I especially felt this way growing up in the 90s. Like, the only representation I had of myself in the 90s on television was like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, the idea of gangster rap, and like it made me very much afraid of being black. Even like, especially now with all the racial tension that's happening here in the United States, and the idea that me just simply driving a car down the street could either result in me getting hurt by a police officer or someone else of the same color as me who is I don't know, have some vendetta. It made me very afraid. And the media has a way of painting that picture for us, even if it's not true, it becomes true through association and through the way our mind starts to see these things.
See, in my day job, I'm an adult educator. So, and I have a part of my role is we talk about equality, diversity, and all this sort of stuff. And I believe in equality and diversity massively. In my head, equality is this. Equality isn't pushing one over the other. Equality is that everyone gets treated the same. I hate the word racism. I hate it. I don't understand it. All right, so let me put this in the right context. I don't like racism at all.
Yeah.
In any shape, way, or form. I also don't like the word, because we're not separate races.
Yeah. That's a good observation. Yeah.
So if you chop me in half and chop you in half, we have the same bits inside. We're not the different race.
Yeah.
So where's this like race thing? I have family and the mixed heritage, and I hear like, oh, you're the mixed race. They're not mixed race. They're human. It's human race.
That's true.
They're not a dog and a cat, for Christ's sakes. And this sort of stuff bugs me.
Yeah,
it bugs me a lot. That's not to say we've digressed a little bit. I explained the whole Black Lives Matter thing recently. When someone in my classroom was challenging me, saying, "Well, if it's equality, why is Black Lives Matter and nobody else does?" I said, "That's not what Black Lives Matter means. What it means is that we are both important, but unfortunately, you've got two houses, both are important, but unfortunately, this house next door is on fire, and you're the one with the hose. What are you going to do?" That's Black Lives Matters, and that's how I explained it down. So I've probably oversimplified it massively.
Oh no, I've heard it explained that way plenty of times. Absolutely.
Cool. But it's interesting you bring up stereotypes. I'm a British guy, so obviously I like soccer and I drink tea, which I don't. I like coffee and I like the Miami Dolphins, and I have since the 80s. So what do I'm wearing a Gas Monkey Garage T-shirt. It's different strokes for different folks and all that, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to take a break in a little bit for one of our other shows. But it was recent. It's funny how you mentioned at the start about in the last little arc there about how you get a high five, how male kids get high fives for I suppose surviving. It was last week, wasn't it? There was a school teacher in Charlotte that was arrested for having intercourse with one of her students.
I have no idea, but I do not disbelieve you at all. Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, he's probably walking around right now like king of the heap. Look what I've managed to do without realizing the impact that that's going to have on him down the line. But
Absolutely.
right, okay, time for a break from our other shows before we come back and we talk some more. You mentioned DC was your favorite, so let me dig out. Right, this is the longest trailer we've got, so apologies for that, but
No,
give
it's
me a
fine.
chance to get some wine. It is our DC show, The Definitive Crusade. Check it out. There we have it, The Definitive Crusade for all you DC fans, checking out the newest of the DC books that are out there. The gang will be getting ready to launch into absolute power with Amanda Waller taking on the might of Batman, Wonder Woman, and of course, big boy blue Superman himself. There you go. DC should pay me for saying stuff like that. They don't.
They should.
We should. With my voice over, it'd be great, wouldn't it? The book. We've got your website here. Interested. The website Lost Imaginations. Where'd that name come from?
It came from me being extremely, well, not extremely young, because I was, I don't know, early.
Be careful how you say this,
I know, right? It's
I'm in my
crazy.
50s, yeah. So I'm in my 50s, you're like, well, I'm not young. Give away. I might have more hair than you, but still.
I was sitting there, I was looking up at the sky, and I was looking at the clouds, and I was like, I can't see anything in the clouds. Like, you know how you're a kid and you see the clouds and you see so many different things, and I was like, have I gotten that old that I have no more imagination? And I started thinking like have I lost my imagination, and how do I get it back? So this is me trying to get back that lost imagination that was sort of taken from me.
Okay, so do you feel that imagination is coupled with innocence?
Yeah. And I mean, I believe so. Yeah. Like your unique perspective at looking at the world, like imagination is we take that for granted. And I think we're starting to see a lot of our problems now in sort of society. The fact that we are losing that imagination with the rise of AI, and the fact that we have become less creative and less imaginative in how we see the world and addressing problems.
I suppose if you wanted to, and I'm not a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist in any shape, way, or form, I suppose there could be a shout to be made for if your innocence is forcibly taken, that therefore dampens your imagination and your need to want to be creative. You don't want to see those things because you kind of you don't have that skill anymore. It's kind of been taken from you. You have to learn it again. You have to be at peace and kind of get back your equilibrium to see those innocents, to see the bunny rabbits in the clouds rather than whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Well, it all depends on what kind of person you are. Like for some individuals, they dive extremely deep into their imagination, and that's how they survive. They develop a whole entire world in their brain that is not reality, because reality that they are existing in is damaging, and it's going to kill them. And then some individuals, they like you said, they lose that imagination, and so they deal in the real world, the workaholics, like the Reed Richards, like you talk about, where they the only thing that they know how to survive and succeed is by plugging away and making order of the world in which they live. So you have your Batmans, which are creating order, and then you have your Jokers, which are creating chaos.
Yes, I suppose. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, definitely. When you've done your research, you've kind of looked across the plethora of superheroes and villains. Let's not forget the bad guys. Which ones do you feel have the most negative mental health? And I said negative mental health because I'm a big believer in the term mental health getting misused. People say, "Oh, I've got mental health," as if that's like what they're saying. That's not the case. What you're saying is, I'm suffering with mental health, or I'm suffering with bad mental health, as opposed to having good mental health. We all have mental health, whether it's good or bad, depends on our outlook, our experiences, our situation where we are right now.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So when you think about the comic characters you've researched, which ones do you feel have that kind of negative mental health, that kind of is hurting them and those around them? And please don't say all of them. just so I was preempting you. Like, yeah, I can see it in your eyes. You're like, yeah, this is intended.
But it's true. Like it's so difficult to say like one has better mental health than the other. But I guess I would have to say the villains have better mental health than the heroes.
Really?
Because
Wow.
the heroes are trying to maintain that balance. They're trying to live on both sides of the scale, and they're trying to maintain that balance. And so they're trying to keep their morality and their ethics and their sense of righteousness. And so their hero code, if they break their hero code, then they no longer identify themselves as a hero mentally, and like they do some horrible things to themselves, like mentally and psychologically. Embrace it, and they're like, no, I really don't have a problem stealing the money that I need in order to survive, because society's screwed anyway, and they screwed me, so I'm going to screw them.
It's kind of like it's like a scorpion. A scorpion isn't an evil thing by definition. You know the parable about the frog and the scorpion, right?
No.
So no, you've not heard this. All right.
No.
So the frog's sitting by a riverbank. One day, minding his own business, and a scorpion comes along and says, "Dude, I need a lift across the river. Will you help me across?" And the frog's like, "No, you're kidding. You're a scorpion." He says, "No, it'll be fine. I'll get on your back. You swim along the water, and then I'll get off on the other side." And the frog's like, "No, you're a scorpion. You'll sting me, and then we'll both drown." And the scorpion says, "No, I really need to get across the other side." So the frog says, "Fair enough, whatever." Gets the scorpion on his back. The frog starts giving it the strokes across the riverbed. Next thing you know, he feels a pain between his shoulder blades. And as the poison from the scorpion seeps into his blood, the frog turns around to the scorpion and says, "Why did you do that? We're both going to drown. I'm a scorpion." That's a supervillain, right?
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty messed up. The scorpion's a jerk.
Yeah, Dr. Doom, you're a jerk, man.
But I guess in a way that's why we gravitate towards heroes rather than villains, because heroes are definitely more dynamic in their personalities. Villains, especially the old school, like Golden Age and Silver Age villains, they're just like completely one-dimensional. But that's part of the reason why like people love the Joker so much, is because he's like the Iago of DC Comics.
I
Like,
hate the Joker. He is
oh,
the least.
okay, never mind. This is like we don't know his story, and so people just keep being attracted to
See, I misspoke. Hate's such a strong word.
it.
I hate the fact he's used so often. There
Yeah,
you go. That's
I
what
get
I hate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Two-Face kind of guy. So
I actually like Clayface. Like, I would love
which one?
more.
Which one? Because there's been several. Are you talking about the one that changes faces? Or are you talking about Basil Karloff, the original?
What's his name? Drayden? Where he
You've got Basil Karl. You've got Basil. What's his face? Who the original one? Then you've got Matt Hagen, who's the one that changes his face. Then you've got some
Hagen.
other dudes in a
Hagen.
Hagen. It's Hagen from Batman animated series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I want more, like, I don't know. I want more nuanced about like characters like that are, I don't know, really trying to figure out who they are as individuals. Like you said, Two-Face is up there as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Trying to navigate those two different worlds, and that's really what people gravitates toward. They want the dynamic personalities rather than the single one-sided character.
When you said Clayface, did you mean the one from the Batman cartoon, the one that's the cop that gets turned into Clayface?
I'm thinking of the Batman animated series where he was an actor.
Yeah. That's Matt Hagen, just so I got that right. Because he's been over so many times. What was I going to say there? It's interesting because I think Batman's villains are aspects potentially of him, the reaction to him. I like characters like Lex Luthor or the Kingpin. Well, especially Lex Luthor over the Kingpin. Lex Luthor for me isn't a bad guy. He's just doing what he thinks is right to protect the planet.
Yeah.
Same with Doctor Doom. He's not a bad guy per se. He's just looking out for his country.
Yeah.
But I read somewhere that when you look back at the classic Winnie the Pooh stuff by A.A. Milne, all the characters like Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, and Tigger all represent some aspect of mental health in Christopher Robin.
Yeah.
Now I'm not sure. I that's looking at it with today's lens, right? That's looking at it when the book was written. God knows how many years ago. I don't think A.A. Milne turned around and said, "Oh, well, let's have a book with a ADHD tiger, manically depressive donkey, and an introverted piglet." But I don't know.
But it fits.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I think this is I think this is probably for me the magic of your book and the magic of your ideas is that whilst the mental health idea of the Pooh characters fits with today's society, how you viewed these characters have helped you and how they fit for you.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a personal story to tell. And I think that's the brave aspect for me, because you're putting yourself out there. You're talking about things that are horrendous things that have happened to you. You're talking about how that has affected you in life, not just in those 2 years where it was occurring. It continues to affect.
Yeah.
And then the translation and the support you've gained from seeing this somewhere else, and in this case, it's comic books. I think that's an absolutely amazing feat, and I'm so glad that you've been on the show to explain that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. Right, we're almost at the end of the show. So the book, I've got another link going. I've got links going all over the place. Where are we at? Give me 2 seconds. You saw the link for it earlier on the old link. I'll stick it up there in a minute. You can get this book from Amazon and other places. Where is it? I've lost my page. There it is. And there it is. Ta-da. Wow. 5-star ratings already. Fantastic. I like how you don't shy away from terminology in this. You know, it says here you've got cognitive behavioral therapy elements. dialectical behavioral therapy, internal family systems. These are quite complicated principles to think about, and yet you don't shy away from that.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's again, that's a really good thing to consider when we think about, especially when we think about cognitive or CBT,
Mm-hmm.
or DBT as well, and how they can affect us moving forward. The tricks, not the tricks, the tool bags that we need, the tools we need to help get us through that. If anyone's wondering what CBT is in the clean version, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is kind of
Mm-hmm.
like using your brain. It's like taking a step back. For
Yeah.
example, if you wake up late and then you forget your mobile phone or your cell phone, you jump in the car, you drive to work, and you get caught in the traffic. You then realize you've left your mobile phone, and now you're caught in traffic, and now you're going to be late, and you can't call your boss, and you go, "Oh my God, the universe is out to get me." CBT would say, "No, the universe isn't out to get you. The traffic is always like this at this time. You're just running late."
Yeah.
And that's how CBT works.
It just helps you change your thoughts so that they
Yeah,
are
yeah. So,
negative, but
exactly.
they understand how your thoughts are connected to your actions, which are connected to your mood.
Yeah,
So it's a triangle.
just like that example I gave. No,
Yeah.
what can I say? Simply, dialectic therapy is, as it pretty much sounds, dialect. So you're talking, you're having that conversation. Um, an element of that could be something like self-talk. Um, I can tell I'm a safeguarder in my day job as well. So self-talk is, how do we talk to ourselves? When was the last time we said something positive about ourselves? Are we always putting ourselves down? Are you always saying things like, "Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'm never going to," like the dude from the Muppets. "Oh, I'm never going to get it right. Never." It's actually, it's from Sesame Street. I got my Muppets mixed up. But still, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So instead of talking ourselves down, we should talk ourselves up. Easiest way to do that is add the word "yet" to any negative statement. I can't do that. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice easy way of doing it. So that's in there as well. Other books along the lines, similar lines. The book's out now. Is that right, Kenny?
Yes, it is. It is out. It came out the 4th. It is available everywhere, wherever you get your literature.
Ooh, very good. Very, very good. We've talked about some heavy subjects in the show. So if you have been affected by any of the topics we've talked about, for the UK listeners, Childline, if you're currently under 16 and you feel you need to speak to someone about your situation, whether it be sexual assault or any level of vulnerability, it's a free phone number from anywhere on anything. For adults, the Samaritan line's open 24/7, 365. It's free on every mobile phone, any mobile contract. Again, there's always somebody there to talk to. So if you're feeling alone in the quiet corners of the night, that time there's somebody there. You don't have to struggle. And for our friends over stateside, you've got the mental health hotline. There you go. They can answer all your questions or attempted to answer your questions confidentially. It's free of charge. So they're there. These are primarily used for crisis moments. They will help you and signpost you to further support as and when you need it. Sounds all right, Kenny?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Before we go, because we are running out of time, is there anything else you'd like to say about the book? Why people should be checking it out?
Just if you're looking for options, like I know it says for male survivors of childhood sexual abuse and assault, but if you are a female survivor or if you identify as transsexual or whatever you identify as, it really addresses PTSD and CPTSD in a way that is accessible to everyone. The reason why I talk about male survivors is because I am a male survivor and I don't want to discount anyone else's experience, and only I talk about what I know to make sure I am being truthful and honest and completely wholesome in what I say and what I do.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. That's a great way of putting it. Absolutely right. You've had the support numbers there. Feel free to reach out if you need the support. Please do check out the book. It's an opportunity for you to get some tools for your tool bag, for your emotional tool bag, to help you get through some of the trauma that you may have suffered. Um, if you haven't suffered trauma, still buy the book because you might learn something that can help one of your friends or your family members.
Absolutely.
Cool. Kenny, you've been thank you so much. I appreciate it. I was going to say it's been an absolute blast, but we've talked about some heavy stuff. Thank you for being so honest and open about it. I absolutely totally appreciate that, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Johnny.
You're more than welcome. More than welcome. Right, that's it for this episode. Don't forget to check out the new CPN for all your favorite shows, including the Definitive Crusade. The Marvel showed no prizes on a bit of a break while they retool and see how they're going to get moving forward. Probably wait to see which heroes survive after the whole vampire thing. Just saying DC versus vampires did it better. Just saying. And of course, if you like your comics of a certain vintage, don't forget to check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. There you go. What can I say? Kenny, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you again.
I have been your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.com, all about comic pop culture.